Foreign streets and smells. I am abandoned softly with material goods. The new urban noise. Discomforting thoughts swell now. I have become an insomniac and a consumer of cheap Chinese cuisine, a prisoner to my deep surroundings, and a student of celluloid dreams. Although literally it seems everything has been done, I am now a cinephile on the loose. The L trains here pass on time, passing loudly in the night, leaving only people in brief flashes of light behind, echoing off the slim corridors of buildings, block after block for miles. I find myself drowning in the masses of morning sidewalk crowds. My shell has been cracked wide open. I had a dream one night that 2001: A Space Odyssey was playing loudly on some old television set, and it seemed I was scooping shit out of a woman's ass and feeding it to her. People were coming from the distance, but I couldn't stop, not now. They were trying to get into the house, way too early, stop everything. So I fled out of some window and worried about how to get the dirty mess off my fingers. Through the wild, endless fields, I never found what I was really looking for, but I guessed I must have forgotten. Severe signs of fear paralysis all throughout my tense body, transudation running down my legs. I dripped sweat onto her breasts. I had to write something, it seemed, but this was no time for words and sloppy grammar. The bed was small, cramped, and boxy like a wooden crate. We managed a few shifting positions. I dragged my lips across the pale skin of her ass, sucking on the tightly bound ball of nerve ends. She ached with pleasure, shifting my head between her inner thighs. I continued onward from before, one emotionless thrust after the other towards the wonderful splash of lightheaded and oversensitized orgasm, holding her hips, attempting to suck her toes. Her eyes closed under circumstances so sexually physical, yet stimulatingly a violation of bodies. The feeling crept up in my leg, and I slowed, bursting inside the warm and acidic orifice of this opposite sex, this gorgeous heterosexual, this female. The intensity crept back down to my feet, and I remained motionless, breathing heavy, my brain returning from the pleasure fuzz. I had hoped she was on a pill. We have all been charged with something we could have never owned up to. Now, I'm in a speed trance again. Extended release of granulated capsules of euphoria that are perfectly legal. The beads of speed inside rolling around, ready for intake. And I can feel my heart struggling to pump blood throughout my body. My jaw muscles are tight. The ice was melting in the light, and the beverage was once extremely hot. I've destroyed my lips with anxiety, and the cramps in my legs twitch. I suck the inside of my mouth until it's raw, and all I can smell is this prescription drug. My throat is very dry. Paint from these closed-in walls heating my body to the breaking point. My bloodstream is locked into overtime, moving too fast for its own good. Slow piss excreting from my body into the cold porcelain. The mirror, it seems, is the only truth, and yet it tells so many lies. I exchange experiences with a female under heat lamps on a cold platform, her blonde, coarse hair, and deep thoughts of fornication. I knew that I was alive once upon a time. Close call, she told me, some past life I kept trying to remember, and will never forget. I can feel my body dying and shutting down, my aching self trapped in the pain of life, the pain of being human. Weightless air and persistent gravity, My feet have traveled endless miles to what seems like nowhere. My thoughts and words have meant nothing. She sits next to me on the unstable seats of the train, and I stay composed. Blank verbal bullets spill, dry, a copy of a copy. All we can do is reminisce about pointless events. I get off at the stop. She is gone, and I will never see her again. I am left with barely an image to hold on to. Key locks lights, and I find myself back where the night began, without hope, without a plan, but with a definite sense of fear and exhilaration. I had experienced this final departure with my senses at full volume. My eyes are dilated and locked. It will never be forgotten. A young man rode up to me on a skateboard from across the way, late one night. He came at a distance yelling, "Stop everything!" He was carrying a busted traffic stop sign connected to a short white cylinder tube in one hand, and in the other a large bottle of beer wrapped in light brown paper. His board was worn thin, and his headphones were blaring sounds of the unnatural. He was apparently on mushrooms, or so he said. Things looked good in his urban socialist appeal. Another fanciful consumer of underground market status. No attention had been gained from his loud presence in the street, the cold and derelict asphalt of the 3 o'clock morning hour. He tried rolling a cigarette, and I managed to shuffle one out of my pocket and give it to him. I told him it was easier that way. Always the easy way. Every single day, it seems, has been a retrospective. She soaked my bedsheets with love. Understanding something can sometimes be the worst effort towards a reasonable truth. Just assume it's all complete bullshit and there will be no worries. The mind is its own worst enemy. I will never forget this mild population, the endlessly sweeping tide of nameless faces. People drown this way. Sometimes they stop, and they die. And then there was snow.